sure which one would be.
Yeah, go ahead and show me.
Okay. I think just photos from like your stuff, but I love the like gray blending.
Yeah.
But
okay, let's show.
I didn't know if that's
yeah
I'm able to do that, or if it's gonna be more like, because I don't. Also, because
you're also open to that.
Oh yeah, 1000%. Because I'm an actor, so I worry that they're gonna want to dye my hair dark again. So I'm hoping.
Oh, for work.
Yeah. So then I was like, I don't know if like something like this would be better, because then it's more blended versus like stark.
Okay. Because you do headshots and you need to still look like your headshots, right?
Like,
yeah. You probably have to stick with like the darker because you have like dark hair headshots, right?
Well, I'm not too stressed about the headshots. It's just more of like for future work, like if it's gonna like.
Is that too light?
No.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm like I worry that like I love this, but I worry that people will be like, you have to dye it. So if it's more blended, then maybe.
Would you rather the tone be like more neutral, like less gray?
Sure. Honestly, I'm just kind of open for whatever.
Okay.
I'm like, something.
Why don't we? What's your color history? Before we.
Mostly, just the dark dyeing. Yeah.
Was it at a salon or at home?
Yeah.
Everything was always at a salon?
Yeah. I think probably pre-pandemic I would do it myself, but after pandemic, and that's been long enough that hopefully it's all out.
Okay. So when I lighten you, if it's been done at the salon, it should be okay lightening up. I might have trouble like maybe here because it just looks darker overall compared to the top right here. If that's the case, then we'll do more of a neutral brown. But if you get light enough, I would just recommend doing as ashy as possible and then toning it to like, if you can get to the gray, do the gray. Because it's a lot easier to do the gray first and then do brown than do brown and then try to go to gray. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be picking up pieces today and leaving a lot of dimension, and once those are light, it's good to tone for the gray. It'll take the gray, but after, if you want to like go brown and then go gray again, it's hard for me to pick those pieces up again and then remake them gray.
Cool.
If that makes sense.
I'm open.
Do you want the front to be lighter?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I see the picture again?
The majority of the gray, like I said, is at the little temples. And then,
but like maybe like a soft piece like that, where it's more blended.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see this one has a lot more highlights than all of these pictures.
Yeah.
Which placement, like the amount of like pieces do you like?
Mostly, honestly, it's probably my temples is where I get the most gray, so I probably
so maybe
have
just
to
focus in the front, most of the light, and then the back keep it more dimensional.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today we have a new client who is wanting to do some gray blending, something that's just going to grow out soft and just complement with what she naturally has growing in. She has a bit of color on her mids and ends, but in the back, I would say her gray pattern is mostly pepper, and she has more salt, maybe like where her temples were. Those are the areas that will focus a little bit more lightness. But in the back, I really want to try and preserve some of that depth. I feel like it looks really pretty, and I feel like it would complement what she has going on and just kind of grow out really soft against her natural gray pattern. And so the placement of the back part is really to help blend with her natural gray placement. I usually will determine how far to space out my foils based off of their gray percentage. And because I would say she has like maybe 25% gray, definitely less than 50, I don't need to do a demi in between any of my foils. We can just straight blend everything and just lighten and try to get her dark ends to kind of blend well with her regrowth. So I always start in the back. I do a detail hairline. You can see I did a weave, and then I did about an inch up a slice diagonal back, and now I'm going to go in with my slicing pattern. the back section, I do like to take in a mohawk center section just to kind of cover more ground this way. And I'm spacing them out a little bit more further out, I would say at least like an inch, up until the occipital of the head. And then from there, now that we're going to be going after this foil into more of like where she parts her hair, I call this more of like the veil. So the veil is like the part of the hair that lays on top of the rest of the color. So essentially this is going to be the visual section of her hair, and it's usually going to be like the top part and focus the details of where she parts it and where the blend is going to lay. So see right here, this foil, I did weave it. Now when I do a weave, I'm not doing like a baby light or anything like that because I did slices everything up until this point. We're doing more of a medium sized weave because we still want to try to get rid of that old color that's on her mids and ends to help blend with everything else. But the reason why I'm not slicing here is because we decided to keep the back more natural, more dimensional. So we're spacing the foils out, I would say maybe 3/4 of an inch apart, and doing a more medium size textured weave. And I'm going to just continue this up until the top, and when I turn her around, I might space these foils a little bit closer together and change the weave pattern just a tad when we get closer towards the front. But up until there, this is how I will usually do the top for this amount of gray pattern, with her goal in mind to help blend and soften the grow out. So now that my foils are really reaching the utmost top part of her head where the head curves, I'm gonna now intentionally space these foils even a little bit closer together, but still doing that more medium sized weave here. So because of that, this is kind of where the hair starts to split a little bit, just because the curvature of the top of the head. And generally this is kind of where I start to like space my foils a little bit closer together to kind of get that effect to where the front starts to gradually look more blended and lighter compared to the back. And that generally looks very natural in my opinion when it grows out, because on natural blondes, that's how the sun lightens their hair. Their hairline gets a little bit lighter and the back of their hair is typically the darkest parts. So now I'm going to move on to her money piece. So I'm doing a baby light right in the front. I'm going to be doing about 3 of these baby lights. They're basically just smaller weaves than I did in the back, and these are all back to back. I'm not leaving any negative space other than the dropout of the weave in between these, because this is technically like her money piece, and this is also going to connect to those temples where she does have a lot more of that salt. So we want to make sure that we do kind of cover a bit more ground in this area. So I am doing the 3 baby lights back to back. It's just kind of like a nice standard money piece to where it's blended but a little bit lighter. And then after that, I'm gonna start utilizing those slices again. So you can see the spacing on this is a lot closer than the spacing in the back. Again, I'm utilizing the technique of a slice to create the front to be a little bit lighter. I usually will do about 2 slices with like a paper thin dropout of negative space in between before I start to switch and convert to leaving more negative space after those 2 foils. And I generally just feel like, because of the curvature of the head and where the hair lays in this front part, because at the very top of the head where it starts to curve, at this point where the money piece is, that top point to the money piece, it curves down. And so when it does that, the hair kind of splits in a certain way to where it reveals a lot of depth. And so in this area, I do try to keep the foils a little bit spaced closer together. Otherwise, you might have the front looking a little bit darker. So I am moving on to her side money piece. I'm pretty much connecting that front foil above her forehead with the side, and I'm being very conscious of her temples because that's where she expressed. Those were her areas that she's most concerned with because she has the most gray there. And so I'm going to be doing my baby lights back to back to kind of just blend with her natural gray pattern. I'm not going to be doing demi because it's not like a white patch to me. I don't feel the need to do so. She does have some pepper in there and dimension naturally, so I don't feel like it's going to take away and look like the roots are still lighter. I feel like she has enough depth naturally. So I did some baby lights back to back, and then I'm going to finish off the front with a diagonal back slice before I start moving on to this section right here that is above the ear. And this section right above the ear is how I connect the front to that back section that we originally started with. And this makes it super easy, super fast. We get through this foil placement in about an hour-ish, depending. And so I do a weave above the ear. We're going to be doing a slice above that and just pretty much slice. And these slices that I'm going to be now doing on the sides are going to be spaced out the same that we did in the back. And because we already finished up her money piece around the hairline, her whole hairline has now been blended and softly covered. Every foil connects into the next foil. And then we've already done her visual. So everything else right now that we're doing is pretty much just a bonus to the blend. I would say it's not super crucial to do a heavier blend or a more dimensional blend. It's really just to put in some color there to kind of help mimic her natural gray, but you could still achieve a very blended look if you were even just doing a partial with this kind of placement. But we're doing a full because we're going to be doing some tip outs at the very end to kind of just get rid of a lot of that old dark color that she has on those mids and ends. So this part is really important to kind of just elevate the look, make sure that everything just looks super natural and seamless to where the roots are really dimensional and soft, and softly gets lighter towards the ends. Because again, like with natural blondes, the sun naturally will lighten the hairline, but then also just the ends of the hair naturally get lighter from the sun because those are the oldest parts of the hair, or just from like regular washing and whatnot. So we want to make sure to create that look too by adding some tip outs, and I'm going to be adding a good amount of tip outs because I want to try and make sure that everything looks beautifully blended. Now we left a lot of dimension throughout the root, so when that grows in, it grows in really soft, but on the ends I want to make sure that everything just looks really pretty and blends well. So I want to try and get rid of a lot of that dark color so everything just looks very seamless. So as expected, because of her previous color, she did have a bit of warmth in certain areas of her hair. So we ultimately decided to do a very ashy gray tone. And I was looking back at my notes, guys. I did her hair earlier in the year, so the formula that I used on her is actually unfortunately not available, but I will still share it in case you guys are familiar with the color. So for her root, you guys all know I use the Danger Jones gloss toners for any type of root shadow. I use the 5-1, but what's different and I don't technically use anymore is the toner that we used on the mids and ends. We used the Pulp Riot toners for this one, and I used the silver mixed in with their violet, and it's really unfortunate that they don't make their violet anymore. It was more of a deeper pinkier purple of a rapid toner, but I loved it because it worked well in toning even like a level 8. So they don't make it anymore, so I usually will just kind of substitute with like a violet blonde in the Danger Jones artistic toners. Now just use that with caution because that's definitely not as pigmented, but if I were to reformulate, it probably just wouldn't be as purpley gray, and I would probably use the Danger Jones gloss toners in the 6-01 and the 9-12. And the difference between the two toners is the one that I'm using on my client in this video is more of a purpley gray, and the other conversion, which I would use now if she came back in, is more of a gray tone with slight beige undertones when it fades out. So it's not totally different, but it has some slight differences in the way that it finishes and the way that it fades. But overall, both toners do cancel out the warmth that was still left in her hair. It will still blend really well with her natural gray roots and last just as long.
How does it feel?
Lovely.
Feels good. Still dark, but
Yeah.
dimensional, and like it's gonna grow up soft with your gray now.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. I feel like the toner toned out a lot of that warmth that was still in her mids and ends perfectly. And as this fades out, if she were to use no purple shampoo, it would just fade out to a ash blonde before it fades out yellow. But she can always come in for a toner, or she can just rock the blonde hair. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.